Hi, I'm Georgie, welcome back to my channel. So happy to have you here. Today we're going to be doing flexibility and the spine kriya. Now in Kundalini Yoga it's really important to take care of the spine. Obviously one of the main goals of Kundalini Yoga is to allow that Kundalini energy to go from our root chakra at the base of the spine all the way up through the crown, helping to open all of the energy centers along the spine before connecting us through the crown of the head to the infinite energy of the universe around us. We have a saying that a yogi is as old as their spine is. Now, obviously, we're as old as our spine, but if we don't take care of our spine and it becomes stiff, rigid and immobile, then obviously we're going to feel more stiff, rigid and immobile, which is going to make us feel older than perhaps we actually are. So through this kriya, we're going to do a series of exercises that's going to help to activate, align and increase the flexibility and movement in our spine. Now, you don't have to be a Kundalini or indeed believe in Kundalini energy to feel the benefits of this yoga practice today. Lower back pain and upper back pain is one of the most common complaints of people. Sometimes we live a very active lifestyle and we don't do the things to perhaps protect our spine as the best we can, or perhaps it's the exact opposite and you live quite a sedentary lifestyle, so you find yourself sat down in chairs quite a lot of the day. You restrict the range of movement that you might normally have in your spine. The more we take care of our spine on a daily basis, the better we're going to feel in the long term, whether you believe the woo-woo side of things or not. Now, there is no quick fix, and it is just going to obviously be a daily practice of doing some of these exercises, maybe just taking them into your other practice or completing this kriya and seeing how you feel after perhaps doing it for a week. See if after the end of the week you notice a bit more range of movement and a bit of improvement for you. We are going to have some seated postures today, so feel free to grab yourself a block or a bolster if you need to, just to help lift up the hips. That's going to create more space for the knees to be able to drop down on the floor. Ideally we want our knees to be resting on the floor as opposed to hovering in midair, because that can actually increase the tension and the feeling and the pulling sensation in our low back, and it'll also be a very big distraction. We want to be focusing our attention on how the exercises feel within the body and their benefits, not the discomfort within our knees or our low back because of how we're sitting. So with that in mind, get anything you might need, get yourself a glass of water or a nice warm tea for when you finish, and I'll meet you on the mat. Coming into a comfortable seated position, we're going to place our hands on the tops of our knees, palms facing up in an open and receptive gesture. We're going to close our eyes and we're going to take a few long, slow, deep breaths just to really help bring us into the present moment. Inhaling deeply through the nose, allowing the belly to expand, really taking in as much air as you can. Feeling the chest, allowing the chest to rise before exhaling slowly again through the nose, allowing the chest to soften, and then slowly drawing the belly button back towards the spine, helping just to squeeze the last of that air out from the diaphragm. Inhaling, allowing that belly to expand and fill, allowing the chest to rise. Exhale, we're going to soften the chest and then draw the belly button back towards the spine. Last one, deep breath in, allowing the belly to fill and expand, the chest to rise. Hold the breath and then exhaling slowly, softening the chest, drawing the navel back towards the spine, engaging that core, allowing the last of that air to come out of your chest. And then soften, allow your breathing to resume a normal rhythm, coming and going in its own time, its own pace. Your body taking what you need, now you need it. We're going to begin our practice, as always, with the Kundalini class of chanting Om Namo Gurudev Namo 3 times. This is the Adi mantra. It roughly translates as I bow to the divine guru, the divine teacher within. So it's just an opportunity to connect to ourselves at the beginning of this practice, kind of creating like a sacred opening, a dedication to ourselves at the beginning of our practice. So we're going to begin by sweeping the arms up through the air 3 times before we do the chant. Now, as you sweep the arms, I really want you to visualize the prana, that life force that lies in the air, running through your fingers. You're really just connecting to the life force that surrounds you. So when you're ready, closing the eyes, Fingertips on the ground. Inhale, sweeping the arms up through the prana, through the energy, connecting before our hands reach together in prayer above the head, and we exhale and we bring that prayer down to our heart center. Thumbs touching the sternum, a moment of connection, feeling the beat of your heart against your thumb. Again, we're going to sweep the arms up through the air, through the aura, hands together in prayer, bringing that prayer down to the heart, thumbs touching the sternum. Heartbeat. Last one. Inhale, sweeping the arms up. Hands to prayer, prayer to heart. Keeping the thumbs against the sternum. Now sometimes in this mudra, our elbows can dip down. What we really want to do is want to push those palms together. They represent the duality of things, you know, the left and the right side of the body, the different hemispheres of the brain, but also the different polarities of energy, masculine, feminine, that kind of active and dynamic versus that relaxed and soft and gentle energy. So we're going to have them pressing against each other, balancing each other out by having our forearms parallel to the floor. That thumb touching the sternum. The thumb can represent our ego. So having the thumb pressed against the sternum, we're actually kind of reminding our ego of our own heartbeat, our pulse that kind of cuts underneath what the mind can sometimes tell us. And when we're ready, we're going to begin. Deep breath. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Again. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Last one. Keeping your breath coming and going, feeling the pulse of the heart against the thumbs. When you're ready, gently opening the eyes. We're going to place our hands on our knees, and we're going to begin with some Sufi grinds, putting them on top of the knees. Now as we're going to move, you may find your knees rising up, so we're going to just press into the opposite knee with our hands just to help keep our sit bones on the ground. You don't want to rock. This is about engaging and opening the low spine and the pelvis. It's not, if we just start moving all around, we're not really doing it. Closing the eyes, we're going to begin by inhaling, leaning over to the right. And as you exhale, we're going to bring ourselves forward and over to the left, pressing into that right knee. Exhale, inhale, coming back. Exhale as we come round to the front. Inhaling back, exhaling round. Just opening up the spine, nice and gently. So make this a moving meditation for you. Bringing your awareness to your sit bones being in connection with the ground. The feeling of pressing into the knee. We're coming gently to a neutral position in the center and taking it in the opposite direction. So inhale over to the left, and we're going to exhale, sweeping forward over to the right. Exhale, inhaling as we come back, exhaling as we go round. So we're opening up that low back, gently opening up the hips, helping to release tension stored in the area of the pelvis, helping to stimulate the root and second chakras. Just enjoy the feeling. Last 10 seconds. Before slowly now coming into a neutral position, closing the eyes for just a moment, palms facing up into a meditative position. And just notice if you're beginning to feel anything. We're going to come back to this position several times throughout our practice today. And it's again increasing our awareness of how we're feeling. Now that could be physically, it could be mentally, it could be energetically. Perhaps you're starting to feel those chakras open. Perhaps you're starting to feel emotions get released, or you're starting to notice thought patterns. So just take a moment to observe how you feel. From here, we're now going to take spinal flex. So bring the hands to the front of the shins. We're going to try to keep our sit bones connected to the ground as we did before. And we're going to try to keep our shoulders in place. And as we inhale, we're going to bring our chest forward and upwards as if it's being pulled up and out. And then as we exhale, we're going to arch the spine, almost like a cat-cow. Instead of doing it on our hands and knees, we're going to do it in a seated position. So when you're ready, let's begin. Shoulders nice and still, pelvis nice and still. Inhaling, lifting the chest, exhaling, arching the spine. We're really not trying to rock too much into the pelvis. We're going to try to use our awareness to isolate the movement. We're also going to try and keep our head and neck still. We don't want to fling our head forward and backwards with this movement like we do in cat-cow. It is just the spine. So we're opening up the mid-spine and the low spine with this position. You may want to chant a mantra, so you can chant Sat Nam. Sat is truth, Nam is identity. Truth is my identity. It's just reconnecting our intention that we set with the Adi mantra of connecting to our true self, our higher self. So Sat as we inhale, Nam as we exhale. Last few seconds, just allowing that feeling of the spine to open before taking a deep breath, coming to a neutral position. Hold the breath. We're going to squeeze Mudaband, our root lock. So squeeze the sex organs, the anal organs. We're just going to squeeze, holding that low belly in. Exhale to release, releasing the hands back to the tops of the knees in that posture that we took after our Sufi grinds. And just becoming aware again of the feelings and the sensations. Perhaps you noticed any feeling in your back that you may want to work on. Maybe your back was tighter than you were expecting. Maybe your back was looser than you were expecting. Perhaps it has unlocked some emotion for you, or perhaps it just felt good, perhaps it didn't feel good. Whatever it is that you feel, it's absolutely fine. Just accept it for what it is. We're going to continue our spinal flexors now. This time we're going to come onto our knees in rock pose. So ideally in rock pose, our heels, we're going to try to bring our heels as close together as possible so that when we sit back, we can feel them connecting with our seat bones. If your feet are far apart, then you're not really stimulating the energy channels that run along the sit bones and also stimulating the root chakra. So we're going to just take that position, make sure we're connected, placing our hands on our knees. So we're coming forward a little bit this time. And we're going to inhale, exhale. Again, we're going to keep that head and neck still, and we're just moving the chest forward and backwards. Again, keeping the shoulders as still as possible, the pelvis as still as possible. This time we're really targeting that mid-spine and the heart chakra, so the upper back and the mid-back. Breathing deeply, maybe taking that Sat Nam. Sat as we inhale forward, Nam as we exhale back. Take whatever speed with these that feels comfortable to you in your body. Taking deep breaths. Last few. Inhale, we're going to take that Mula Bandha again, that root lock. So as you inhale, hold the breath, squeeze the sex organs, the anal organs, and that low belly, squeeze and hold, hold, hold. Exhale and release, come into a slightly more comfortable position. Your hands in just a neutral place on the top of the thighs, taking breaths, allowing the breath to move in and out of the body in its own rhythm. Maybe bringing your awareness to any possible changes in sensation, perhaps noticing the change in moving from your low back to up your back. Perhaps it feels more open, perhaps noticing the differences between the two types of flexes. Staying in rock pose, we're now going to take some neck turns. Now neck turns are something we want to be really careful with because we are going to be taking our head back if it feels safe and comfortable for you to do so. There is contrasting evidence and contrasting messages about whether you should take your head back. It was something that we did, then we were told we shouldn't do it, now we're told it's okay again. So whatever feels comfortable for you. Me personally, I'm not going to take my head all the way back. Our skull is actually incredibly heavy, and displacing it too much can obviously work or overwork certain muscles. So if you do have any tension or pain in the neck, please really be aware of what feels good. Just because you feel like you should be doing something differently, or it should look differently, or you should be able to move it in a certain way, if there is resistance, please, please, please listen to what your body is trying to tell you. We're going to begin, we're going to take a deep breath in, and we're going to exhale, drop our left ear to our left shoulder, and then roll our head down so our chin touches the chest. And then inhale as our right ear touches our right shoulder, and then you can take your head all the way back if you want to, but I'm just going to lift mine over as I exhale my left ear to my left shoulder again. And I'm going to just continue this rhythm now. So exhaling as my left ear comes to my left shoulder and my chin comes down. Inhaling as my head comes up and my right ear makes its way to the right shoulder before taking my head over back to the left and exhaling. Begin this motion really slowly. Suss out how it feels in your body. Do not rush it. Do not think that the quicker you do it, the more you're going to release the tension, or the more you're going to stimulate the thyroid. If anything, if you try to jar it too much or move it too quickly, then you're risking injuring it and making more tension and more problems for yourself. Last few seconds. Making sure the breath stays with the movement. So as you're exhaling, chin is coming down. Inhaling as the head rises back up again. Before gently coming to a neutral position, I'm going to take it the other way. So this time, exhaling as our right ear touches the shoulder and it comes down, chin to chest. Inhaling as we bring our head up, so our left ear reaches towards our left shoulder. Inhaling as it comes back, before exhaling, right ear, right shoulder, chest to chin. Keep going with this new opposite rhythm. Noticing and bringing your awareness to how it feels, taking it to the other side. Does changing where the stretch and compression is placed change how it feels for you? Perhaps now that it's had a slight warm up, if you want to move it faster, you can do, or just keep going with that slow, intentional movement, bringing your awareness to any areas of tightness. Anything that you may want to do, anything you might come back to at the end of the practice. Last few seconds. Really stimulating here our throat chakra, our thyroid. Our throat chakra is our 5th, and it is associated with our communication. So how we express ourselves, bringing the head to a nice neutral position. Again, placing the palms up in a receptive gesture and just bringing your awareness to how it feels in your body at the moment. How it feels in your body, any thoughts that might be arising, any emotions that may be coming up for you. Just taking a moment with yourself. Staying in rock pose a little longer, just maybe give yourself a little wiggle, reconnect with the feeling of the heels pressing into the seat bones, just in case our heels have slightly wandered since we came into this posture. And we're going to take spinal twists now. So we're going to bring our fingers in front of our shoulders, our thumbs are going to be behind, and we're going to keep our triceps parallel to the ground by keeping our elbows lifted. Now, through the practice, your elbows may want to start to drop, so just bring your awareness to making sure those elbows are lifted. This is going to help open up the heart center. So as we're going to close the eyes. We're going to inhale left, exhaling right, engaging the core. And you can take this at whatever speed feels good to you in the body. I personally like to take this a bit quicker, but again, this is the first time we're going to start rotating the spine in a different way. So you may want to take it slowly, especially if there's any stiffness, any tightness. If this is a new type of movement for you, remembering to keep those elbows lifted, the shoulders down away from the ears, keeping the breathing in time with the movement, engaging the core to protect the spine, so drawing that navel back towards the spine, allowing the heart to open, really stimulating the upper spine with this movement, but also our range of motion in terms of twisting. Sometimes twisting is how we injure our spine mostly. Last one, taking a deep breath, come to the middle. We're going to take a quick mula bandha, so squeezing the anal organs, the sexual organs, and that core, and that squeezing that low belly in, holding the breath, hold, exhale, releasing the hands, palm facing up, eyes closed. Breathing resuming its normal rhythm. Before we come to a comfortable seated position, and we're going to take some spinal bends. So holding the same position as we did before, fingers back, thumbs in front, lifting the elbows and keeping them lifted. We're going to inhale over to the left, and exhale over to the right. Again, keeping that belly button drawn towards the spine. Keeping the elbows lifted to activate the heart center. Keeping the shoulders down and back away from the ears so that we're not creating the wrong type of tension across the spine. Trying to keep our seat bones in contact with the floor. So we've got a lot going on here. So if you're finding your mind wants to wander, just bring it back to these points. Elbows lifted, shoulders down and back, seat bones in connection with the ground, inhaling left, exhaling right. Again, we're just continuing to increase the range of movement in the spine. We've done forwards and backwards, we've done round, now we're doing side to side, helping to stimulate our liver and our colon, just for a strong, healthy back and just a strong, healthy body. When you're ready, we're going to inhale to the center, holding the breath, holding the posture. Mula bandha, so squeeze the anal organs, squeeze the sexual organs, squeeze that low belly in, hold the breath, hold the posture. Exhale, releasing the hands, the tops of the thighs, taking a few breaths here. observing your mental, physical and emotional state. Our next posture is great for tension release, and it's one that can be done at your desk or on the bus or any time during the day, just to kind of relieve and shrug off some tension. It's called shoulder shrug. So as we inhale, we're going to lift our shoulders up, and we're going to exhale, allow them to drop. And as you allow them to drop, you can also mentally visualize that stress running off your shoulders, like water off a duck's back. So closing the eyes if it's safe and comfortable for you to do so. Inhaling the shoulders up, exhaling, allowing them to drop. Like I said, this is a fantastic stress reliever. Really let them loose. Don't force them down, don't move them down, just let gravity do what it needs to do, and you should hopefully feel that kind of tension release and that impact in other areas, perhaps across your chest, in your arms. And like I said, that visualization of just tension leaving you, just running off you. You can take this nice and slowly, or you could do it quite quick if you want to do more of a breath of fire. But whatever feels good, this is your practice. It's about what feels good for you in your body. Last few seconds here. And then we're going to inhale, we're going to take another Mula Bandha, we're going to take another root lock. So holding the breath with your shoulders in this tensed position, really tensing the shoulders, squeezing the anal organs, squeezing the sex organs, squeezing that low belly, and exhale. Let it all release. Placing the hands to the tops of the thighs, eyes closed, breathing, resuming its normal rhythm. Whatever feels good for you in the body in this moment. Take what you need. Observe where you're at without judgment, just love and compassion for yourself. For our next posture, we're going to take a cobra. Now, cobra is quite an intense posture, so it's really one that I want you to not worry about what you should be doing and really, really listen to your body. Let's start in Sphinx pose, and we're going to work up from there. So we have done some spinal warm-ups, so perhaps you are able to get a deeper bend than you may do, or perhaps not. It really doesn't matter. So starting in Sphinx pose, we're going to have our elbow underneath our shoulders, our forearms flat against the ground, and we're going to pull the shoulders back and the arms back as if we were kind of doing a commando crawl across the floor. So you should feel an engagement in the chest. You should feel that chest coming forward, and you should also really be feeling an engagement in the upper back between the shoulders. Okay, so we're kind of taking the low back out of the equation. If this feels comfortable for you and you're happy to stay here, do so. If you want to start working towards full cobra, you can place the hands underneath the shoulders, and as we inhale, start to lift up to wherever feels good for you. Now we're going to be here for 2 minutes, so you really do want to do what feels good. This is always something you can work towards through different practices, or it's something that you could work towards even through this particular practice. But if you want to keep your arms straight, as they do in the classic cobra posture, please be aware that your pelvis should be on the floor. Now, you can see, for me, that's not going to happen. So if I was to take cobra for this, I would have my elbows bent so that our pelvis. Now, cobra is great for balancing the sexual energy, so you want that pelvis, you want our second chakra to be touching the mat. So I'm going to come and I'm going to do this posture in Sphinx pose because that's what feels best for me. Now we are going to do breath of fire here. It is recommended that if you are pregnant on the first few days of your moon cycle that you don't do breath of fire, but it's your body, your practice, you do what feels good for you. Closing the eyes if it's safe and comfortable for you to do so, and we're going to begin breath of fire. So short, sharp exhale out of the nose with a passive inhale. Don't go and take a deep breath in because then you start risking hyperventilating. So it's just, and we're going to pump our navel as you do so to help expel air from the body. So when you're ready, closing the eyes. Taking a deep breath in, holding the breath, holding the posture, taking that Mulaband, that root lock, so squeeze the sex organs, the anal organs, the lower belly, hold, 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 and then exhale, releasing that body down to the ground, cheek to the mat, maybe taking a gentle rock from side to side, and we're going to just relax here for a minute. So becoming aware of how things feel for you in your body, becoming aware of the energy as it moves around, the breath as it comes and goes, maybe thoughts that have arisen, emotions, no judgment, just experience. Ready, we're going to make our way onto our back for some spinal rolls. So tucking the knees into the chest, and we're going to exhale, we're going to pull back, inhaling up. Now you may find that you move and wander around a little bit with this posture. That's absolutely fine. Just try to keep yourself nice and tucked. Now, this is a great spinal massage. So what we've been doing so far is been doing exercises to kind of increase the range and the mobility, and this is really going to help work on some of that tension. So as you roll back, feel that spinal massage, feel the vertebrae as they rub along the mat. Getting those last little bits of tension. And then when you're ready, we're going to use the momentum to come back up to a seated position. Ready for front life nerve stretch. This one is a really good idea to keep the feet flexed. This helps protect the hamstring. And then we're going to hold on to ideally the toes, but this really does restrict our range of movement. So I'm going to give you some options. You do the one that feels best for you. So classic is to pinch the big toe between the thumb and index and forefinger. And then as we inhale up, we're going to exhale over to the left, inhale center, exhale over to the right. Now, if this doesn't feel very comfortable for you, then please bring perhaps your hands to your shins or your thighs, and we'll inhale up, we're going to exhale left, inhale to centre, exhale to the left. If you want to add a bit of challenge perhaps to the core, you could always raise the arms up, inhale centre, exhaling over to the left, inhaling to centre, exhale. So whichever feels good for you. Keeping that movement of inhaling to the centre and then exhaling as you take the stretch over to one side. Feel that stretch not just in the hamstring, but in the low back as well. Keep our spine straight. We don't want to just hunch over. We're not trying to get our head to our knees. We're trying to get our belly to our thighs. So keep the head and neck neutral. Don't allow the back to bend. Long, slow, deep breaths. Trying to keep the toes pointing towards the face if possible. And then when you're ready, we're going to inhale to the centre and we're going to take a root lock. So holding and squeezing the sex organs, the anal organs and that low belly. Holding the breath, hold, 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 and exhale, release. From here, we're going to take life nerve stretch. So this is kind of an alternating one. This time, we're going to take one leg out in front of us, and similar to before, if you can, we're going to reach forward and grab the toe. Now this one is more of a static stretch, so we're not moving. So if you can reach the toe and you want to stay there, that's absolutely fine. If that's not accessible, then please hold on to the thigh or the calf. Just don't place any grip onto the knee because we don't want to risk injury. So grabbing hold, if you can, to the big toe, squeezing it between those first two fingers and the thumb. And we're going to take breath of fire here, or long deep breathing. I'm going to do it for 1 minute either side. So closing the eyes and begin. It's called life nerve stretch because the sciatic nerve is the longest nerve in the body, and it runs from the low back all the way down the back of the leg. And flossing is really good for keeping that sciatic nerve nimble. So what we did with our first exercise was kind of a flossing motion, so gently stretching and contracting the muscle to keep it nice and supple, whereas this posture is more about stretching and lengthening it, giving it more space. This is going to be obviously really good for helping support the low back. You should maybe also feel a stretch in the low back. Again, we're not trying to get our head to our knees. It's not about how it looks. Especially if you're practicing at home on your own, nobody can see how it looks. No one can see if you're the stretchiest or the most flexible. So just listen to what feels good. And then when you're ready, you're going to inhale, we're going to bring the arm, head up. We're going to take over to the other side, placing the right leg inside the left thigh. If possible, reaching up and grabbing hold of the big toe on the left foot. If not, grabbing hold of the calf or the thigh. And then we're going to lean forward as much as we're able to in a comfortable range of motion. And we're going to either do long, slow, deep breathing or breath of fire. Remembering to keep the spine in a nice neutral position. Feeling that gentle stretch as we pull the toes towards the face, engaging the hamstring, feeling kind of an activation along the back of the leg. And then perhaps if you are doing long, slow, deep breathing, as you exhale, perhaps just seeing if there is a little bit more movement there. Perhaps you can take that stretch a little further. Don't yank yourself, don't risk injury, but just see if through either breath of fire, that energizing breath of fire, or long, slow, deep breathing, that relaxing breath, whether you're able to get any more space within the body. And then you can relax and reduce some of that tension. Last few breaths here. We're going to take a deep breath in. We're going to hold Mula Bandha to finish. So we're going to take a deep breath in, squeezing the sex organs, the anal organs, and that low belly, holding the breath, holding the posture. And we're going to exhale, releasing the legs down in front of us. Give them a little pat. We've just been doing a lot of work with that sciatic nerve along the back here. So just give it a little bit of massage, a little bit of TLC before we move on to our next posture, which is going to be cat-cow. So we've been doing seated cat-cows through our spinal flexors. This time we're taking a classic cat-cow. We're going to bring our big toes together, our knees hip width apart, so not massively apart, just enough. Hands underneath the shoulders and knees underneath the hips. And we inhale, we're going to drop the belly down, look up to the sky. And we're going to exhale, arching the spine, looking to the belly. Inhale, drop the belly, look to the sky. Exhale, arch the belly, look towards the tummy. And then continue opening up the spine, paying attention to what feels good in the body, what feels good to you. Posture is known as the Kundalini chiropractor. Really fantastic for just working the entire length of the spine, from the bottom all the way up to the mid, up to the head. And as we do this, as our spine begins to fully open, head and neck included, you may want to increase the speed with which you go. You don't have to, but the option to do so is there. So perhaps for these last few seconds, You want to take it nice and quick. It's more of a breath of fire type speed. Really just feeling into the body. Inhale, coming into cow, belly down, holding the breath, engaging Mula Bandha, our root lock, squeezing the anal organs, the sexual organs, that low belly, before exhaling, coming onto our knees, palms facing up, and observing how the breath moves through the body, how we're feeling in the body, how the back is feeling, how our energy is feeling, our emotional state, non-judgmental awareness. For our next posture, we're going to take pelvic lifts. Now this is again quite an intense posture. We do it the classic Kundalini way. So what I will do is I'll show you the classic Kundalini posture, and then I'll show you a modification that I'll be taking, and you've then got the choice to do whichever feels more comfortable for you. So coming onto your back, we're going to hold on to our ankles if you were to do the classic Kundalini version. Neck on the floor, inhaling, lifting up as high as you can before exhaling, coming back down. So this will be your classic Kundalini posture, but I don't know whether I have very short arms. That just does not feel good. That actually feels wrong for me. So I'm going to bring my feet further away, and I'm just going to place my hands on the ground with my fingers pointing towards my toes, and I'm going to inhale, and I'm going to lift, and I'm going to get to the top of my inhale, the top of my lift. I'm just going to see if I can lift it a little bit higher before exhaling and gently dropping it down. Okay, so we're going to do 12 of these. Now, you can do a maximum of 26. So if it feels great for you and you're able to do them quite quickly, maybe you want to do 26, maybe you just want to do the 12 and do a few more when you're finished. It's completely up to you. This is your practice. So when you're ready, closing the eyes, we're going to inhale, we're going to lift, and then see if we can lift just a little bit higher. Exhale, release. So this posture is fantastic for releasing abdominal stress and abdominal tension. It's also good for stimulating the thyroid because we're placing gentle pressure on the back of the neck as we lift the pelvis up. Good for stimulating energy. It's supposed to give us a bit of an energetic boost. Don't quite know whether you can do this one at your desk for a little bit of energy boost during the day. Just lifting up, and as you lift and you think you've reached the top, see if you can take it a little bit more. But 2 more here. And last one. We're going to come now to deep relaxation, so pause the video if you like to, grab yourself a blanket. If not, just allow your feet to drop out to the side, your palms facing up. We're only going to hold this relaxation for a few moments. So as you inhale, allow yourself to really fill like a balloon, and as you exhale, deflate and relax completely down into the mat. Inhaling and exhaling. Allow the mind to go wherever it needs to. Coming out of the deep relaxation by taking a deep breath, wiggling your fingers and your toes, rotating your ankles and your wrists, before bringing the knees into the chest and rocking forward and backwards like we did with our spinal rolls, before using the momentum to bring yourself back to a comfortable seated position. We're going to finish our Kriya with a 2-minute meditation. Now feel free to follow this class with any of my relaxation videos or any of my meditation videos for a more in-depth meditation. This is just a short one to finish the practice. So closing the eyes, palms up, an open and receptive gesture to the universe. Closing the eyes. We're going to take a deep breath and exhale. We're going to bring all of our awareness to our body. So let's do a quick body scan together. Starting down at our feet, where our feet are making contact. Working up the shins to the knees, backs of the legs, maybe the top of the legs or our arms are resting. Hips, low back, upper back, shoulders. Coming down the arms, the elbows, all the way to the palms, the curl of the fingers. Noticing your inhale, bringing your awareness back to that rise or fall of the chest, to the neck, to the head, the alignment of the head on the spine, the muscles of the face. Continuing just to sit in awareness of the physical sensation of the body. To end our class the same way that we began, with 3 arm sweeps and a chant. This time we're going to chant Sat Nam, that truth is our identity. So we opened the class by connecting to our highest self, our inner guru, and we're going to close our class by just reminding ourselves of that connection. Bring the fingertips to the ground. We're going to inhale, sweep the arms up. Hands to prayer, prayer to heart, and again sweep the arms up, inhaling, hands to prayer, prayer to heart. Last one, inhale, sweep the hands up, hands to prayer, prayer to heart, thumbs against the sternum, shoulders down and back, taking a deep breath. Bring your thumbs to rest at the third eye. May the long time sunshine upon you, all love surround you, and pure light within you guide your way. Bring the hands back to the heart. This time take a moment to think of something that you're truly, truly grateful for. When you're ready, placing the hands down to the ground, sending that prayer of gratitude and thanks out to the world for the benefit of all. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I'd love to know how you found it, or if you enjoyed the Kriya, in the comment section down below. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more yoga, meditation and wellness videos, and don't forget to follow me over on Instagram as well, Georgie_May_. So until next time, have a beautiful day.